Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Career Talkies with Abhilash. We here bring real stories and meet real career leaders and understand, talk more about their journey in different sector of life and different sector of profession. I'm your host Abhilash Mohapatra, and today we explore a question that's on the mind of many aspiring healthcare professionals. What does it take to build a medical career in the United States, especially in the field of dentistry? These questions bother a lot of medicos, especially dentists in India, who want to move to different country or outside abroad want to practice with their skill. This has been a very easy ride for the IT professionals, but कुछ साल पहले इंडिया के मेडिकल medicos were also going out and practicing outside. So, what does it take to do it today? To help us understand this journey, we have with us a phenomenal guest, someone who has walked this path with passion, persistence, and purpose. Dr. Amrita Chakraborty. Hello, ma'am. I must
Hello,
say good
Abhilash.
morning
Good
as
morning.
per your time.
Yes,
As
yes,
per
it is
your
good.
time in the US. So, Dr. Amrita Chakraborty is joining us from US, and she'll from tell us from which location actually.
So I'm in Oregon, which is on the west coast of US of the United States.
Wow, fantastic. So thanks. I could find you actually trying to coordinate with you. But I must say about Dr. Amrita Chakraborty, she is a diplomate of the American Board of Pediatric Dentistry, a pediatric dentist at Gentle Dental, Oregon, an alumna of the University of Southern California, and a recently appointed board member of the Oregon Public Health Association. Now, her journey is very, very inspiring from Kolkata to Connecticut, and then maybe I'm wrong, from Kolkata to Oregon. Her journey is a blueprint for aspiring dentists across the world. Thank you so much for your time. और हमें इस जर्नी में ले जाने के लिए आई एम हियर टू हेल्प यू in fact rework the path and what have you done, how have you done. I want my first question to you is, before I start the session, is did you do some studies in India? What was your childhood like, and little bit about your background of where you belong from, how did your childhood was there, and when did you move to years and all that story, if we can have face by face.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me first, Abhilash. It is my pleasure to be here and to talk to you. Talk about my journey. So I was actually, though I was born in India, I actually grew up in the Middle East. My parents are still there. Um, Basically, I think I've lived in Kolkata only for 2 years in all of my life. Unfortunately, I'm not really that familiar with Kolkata. I did my till my 10th standard in Middle East. I was in Qatar, then Dubai, then Abu Dhabi, and then I moved to India in for my 11th and 12th. I was in Kerala for 2 years.
Well,
Which was an amazing experience because I did not know anything about that culture and I got to learn so much. I was in Thrissur where I was actually preparing for entrance exams for medical and dental entrance exams. I stay like majority of the people there. I think I was one of the very few people who did not speak Malayalam. So I learned the language and it was amazing. I got to experience their culture, fell in love with their food. It was really great. Then after that, I got into my BDS, which is my bachelor's in dental surgery in MS Ramaya, which was in Karnataka, and is now called the MS Ramaya Advanced University because it has become a deemed university now. At my time, it was not. So I did 5 years of dental college there. Mostly, we have 4 years of dental schooling and then 1 year of mandatory internship. It was an amazing experience. After that, I gave what is called as the Comet K exam, which is like an entrance exam for the MDS. And I was fortunate to get into pediatric dentistry, which I also did in Karnataka, in Bapuji Dental College, which is in a small town in Karnataka called Davangere. That was 3 years. And then after that, I moved to the US.
So you had, I mean, before you moved to US, and you had different schooling that I could understand, international schooling as well. My first question is, did you really wanted to become a dentist or the medical profession? Were you very clear about it when you did or chose science as a subject after 10th? Was there any
No,
dilemma, any
I
pressure?
actually did not know. No, I did not know. And which is, I feel, is very common amongst us Indian kids because which is different from what I've seen here. So in India, we have to decide on what the rest of our career is going to be at a very tender age. Like you're 16 when you're trying to decide, oh, science lena hai, commerce lena hai, kya lena hai. And I don't think 16 years old में कुछ भी पता होता है, unless of course there are some kids who are like really very very sure of their path. Okay, but I was not one of those kids. मुझे तो कुछ नहीं पता था, मुझे बस इतना पता था कि घर से निकलना है, इंडिया आना है, इंडिया में like trying to figure it out. Dad was actually the one who suggested. He found out from some friend about this school in Kerala, so I ended up there. But he also told me, and this is fun because he's like, oh, तू तो 14 दिन में वापस आ जाएगी, तू थोड़ी ना रह पाएगी. तो मैं I took it like a challenge. I was like, मैं नहीं वापस आ रही, I'm staying here. And it was initially it was a struggle, but then I made it work with a lot of support from my friends. Dentistry was जब medical entrance exam दिया मैंने. Once you get into biology, I feel like the only things we know is medicine or dentistry. And मुझे पहली बार में medicine मिला नहीं था. So I actually repeated 1 year after 12th. I was in Banaras at that time. I stayed in Banaras for 1 year and I repeated 12th. I mean, repeated my entrance. Second year, I got into medicine, but one of my really good friends, she was going into dentistry, and we got into the same college. I was like, oh, I will go into dentistry because I want to be with my friend. So that is actually how I feel like those are choices in our life we make, which maybe sometimes are not very well thought of, but what define and shape our lives in the future. Because I do not have any regrets about the decision I took.
Well, actually, that one point where, which is very common, one is, you don't take a decision, you see what people are taking. The way you said that your friends did something and you joined, it was not mostly about the career line, but more towards to be with your friend. Many of the careers are made like this initially, especially in Indian side. यहाँ पे ऐसा ही almost ऐसा ही होता है. But then when did you realize that, like once you did your MDS, I mean, we just move into the next phase. Did you practice here or you felt like now it's time I should go to US, and you were aware about how to move to US? Because this is one common challenge and there's a lot of information over internet, I'm sure. But then, many people find it very difficult to understand how much, I mean, I would want you to help us understand or gauge somebody that if somebody is looking at a dream of moving to US or Canada, what kind of amount, what kind of exams, what kind of does this education allow them to practice over there, or you need to have a license? What exactly is the entire landscape of requirement to be a practitioner, a medical practitioner in US?
Very good question, Abhilash. Very good question. So I actually started preparing for the US exams during my MDS. Now, for dentistry specifically in the US, we have to initially, before we do anything as international graduates, we have to pass what is called as the National Board exam. It's very similar in Canada. The pattern is a little different. So in the US now, it is one unified exam over 2 days. Before, when I gave the exam, it used to be two different exams, which you give like one after the other. You pass one, part one, and then you give part two. Now it is just one exam. It's called the Integrated National Board of Dental Education exam. Um, In Canada, they have like multiple pathways actually for international dentists. You can either decide to go to dental school there, or you can give a series of exams and start practicing directly. Having said that, in the US, it is mandatory for us to go back to dental school for 2 years. So you have to repeat your graduation basically, which I think is a really good thing because it gives us time to kind of understand the culture. Because if this is going to be your life, you need to be comfortable with the people that you're working with. And the culture here is very different from India. Did I know I wanted to practice in the US? I wasn't sure. I knew that this path exists. And when I spoke to my family and I was like, I don't know if I want to like, go to US, study again, because I did end up studying for many, many more years after I moved here. And I wasn't sure if that was something I wanted to do. And my parents were like, well, you won't know till you try. And I was very fortunate that I had their backup because while I was practicing during my MDS preparation itself, I moved to the U. I was coming to the US for my exams. I came twice. My teachers, my professors in my master's program were also very helpful. My MDS, my HOD, in fact, made everyone study that what I was studying for the exam so that we could all be prepared for it. um, I had a lot of support, and I was very, very grateful, and I've been very grateful in that way. I did practice in India for about a year before I moved to the US. During while I was consulting in Kolkata, that's basically when I actually did live in Kolkata. I was consulting at my one of my very good friends who's a periodontist. He had started his own clinic, and I was consulting as a pediatric dentist at his clinic. Then once I finished with my exams, the real struggle I feel for applying for dentistry in the US starts once you pass the exam. Passing the exam is kind of the easy part because we all know most of it. We have been preparing for entrance exams and we have studied a lot. Our knowledge is really vast. But once you come to once you start applying for colleges, you have to first get an interview for which you need a really good resume. The resume bolte to, like, they don't really look at how many degrees you have. It is more about how passionate you are about your work, which will show through your resume. Then they once you get called in for interviews, we also have something called as a bench exam, which is a practical exam, and you have a round of actual interviews. Once you finish all that, then you get selected, like you get approvals from different colleges. They'll be like, hey, we'd like to we extend an invitation for you to join our program, and then you can decide which program you want to join. That also took me 2 years actually to get accepted into a program because there's a lot of work that we have to put in behind the scenes. Nowadays, it's gotten more competitive than it was before. Almost 90% of the students who are coming need to have at least a master's, at least, which was not the case a long time back. Like maybe even like 10 years back, that was not the case. Now that has become the go-to. I think I'm muted.
I think your journey is a, like, many things you realized once you were there and you learned it as you progressed. But can you give a little bit highlight on what kind of visa? Because you mentioned student,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have to study. Somebody aspiring from India, what should be the readiness? Like what they should apply for, or should they? I mean, there's no entrance. I understand. TOEFL you have to give or something. I mean, there should be
So
some
good question.
mechanism to. How do you land in
for
the US?
Yeah, for just for giving the exams, I'll tell you how I did it, and then I'll tell you what are the different ways to do it. So just for giving the exams, I had applied for a visitor visa to the US, and I got a visitor visa. After once I finished my exams and everything, and I passed my MDS and I finished 1 year of work, I actually shadowed over here. I volunteered with many dental places, and that was also on visitor visa. You can do any amount of volunteering work on visitor visa, provided you do not receive any compensation for it. Basically, you can't get paid for anything. For school, to be in dental school, when I was in dental school, I had an F1 visa, which is a student visa. Now, that is the route I took. There are other things. There are some people who already have a permanent resident card or a green card, and they don't need to worry about any kind of visa. They can just come here and start doing whatever they need to do. They can also earn money, whether you're a permanent resident or even if you're a citizen. Like, you can start earning money. The only caveat when you cannot earn anything, any compensation, is if you are on a visitor visa or on a F1 visa.
Okay. So that's one clarity that I understand. And what kind of like you took 2 years to get into a seat? Like
Mhm.
what otherwise is the generic timeline, and what kind of which colleges to apply, or which side of the US to look up to? I mean, if you can, I mean, I know there would be many, you know, some would be favorite, some where it's like okay, people go there, and I mean,
So
what is
I
your
would
trend
say,
says? Yeah.
yeah, I would say, now, if you ask me in hindsight, when I moved to the US, so what happened was that, like I said, मैंने पहले exams दे दिए थे, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to make such a big change, in my life and study for so much longer. So I actually took 1 year to travel around the US. I wanted to see, that's what really convinced me about moving here. Because I saw the amount of dedication that even the dental students, put into their work, which is kind of something that I really like. That's something that I felt was amazing because, when you're in India and when you study and you're like, oh, yeah, this professor in the US is teaching this, or, this is the technology being implemented, you are very curious. But over here, it's like matter of fact, like, oh, this is nothing. We do this every day. So I really like that. It gave me like, oh, wow, I can just do this every other day. It's great. So I took 1 year off to just explore, and I think that was great because it gave me time to plan where to apply and how to apply. Now, talking about your question, I would say apply wherever you are eligible, because there is no set formula about how to get accepted, unfortunately. You
Okay.
could have the best resume in the world and you would still, there is a possibility you could get denied. You might not have such a great resume but have a great personality, and they would really take you in. I will say this, that most schools look for a very good balance. They don't want someone who's very studious, they don't want someone who's very serious, they want someone who can have some fun and at the same time is very passionate about their work. um, I did not know that I was going to do another residency here. That came out of the blue, but because I was very involved during my dental school with the pediatric programs around town, because I love working with kids and I really missed that during my dental school here. Because I was involved with all of that and I was doing research also, I actually, like, one of my professors suggested that I apply for match. At that time it was like not many international students applied for residency, basically because, think about it, you have already studied for 5 years plus 3 years in India, then you're studying another 2 to 3 years here, then again another 2 to 3 years for residency. That's a long time. People have other family commitments, people need to start earning money. So it's not a very common path to take for most dentists, but I realized that I really like working with kids and I don't want to do anything else. Here
In
in the
fact, my
US.
next question
Yeah,
was
go
this
ahead.
only, that pediatric dentistry, like what made you, another one which we were talking about, like what made you specialize in pediatric dentistry? And it's a, while dentistry is considered very smooth profession, but pediatrics, when it comes बच्चों के लिए जब होता है तब वो, it becomes more difficult and challenging, in
Yeah.
fact. So what made you,
I
I mean,
guess I don't know. So when I grew up, I am very close to both my brother and my sister. I almost I kind of like took care of them, and we were brought up by my grandma, and I don't know, I've always had a very soft spot for kids. So even in BDS, I used to work a lot with children with disabilities, and I used to work in orphanages, homes like that. um when I did my MDS in pediatric, I was very fortunate to have really good professors who kind of, made me fall in love with it. I love the challenge. Dentistry, like to me, I feel I really like dentistry. I like doing the work with my hands. It's what really draws me in. But coming every day, and every child is so different, and the same child can be different over different appointments. I just love that, the challenge of trying to make them smile. And one important thing that I feel a lot as a public health individual is that uh, if I can teach a child good habits today, they will carry that forward across their life and teach it to their family. And at the same time, are also going to teach their parents, because parents, like, I get the chance to educate a child, I get the chance to educate their parents, I get the opportunity to educate the whole family, and for me that's really important.
in fact, my, I was just, while you're talking about uh, working with the community or going very close to each individual's home and family, it is really, I mean, healthcare is a very demanding field.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you must have had some rewarding moments and toughest challenges in your professional journey. So, you want to talk something about that? Any personal story or pandemic time, or any patient challenge or patient impact? Something which always is there in your mind and, make you realize your purpose.
Yeah, I mean, it is challenging, but like you said, it is very rewarding also, especially I'll tell you, the one I can never forget this kid. She was like right in the beginning of I think it was during my second year of my MDS, and she was really afraid of, coming into the clinic. Like from the waiting area itself, she would start crying. And this is in, like, during MDS, so in school. मतलब आएगी ही नहीं, मम्मी के पल्लू के पीछे छुप के बैठना है बस. And she also had autism and ADHD, which made it so much more difficult for her. We decided to do general anesthesia on her. So, because she had too many cavities in her mouth, um, she was crying till she went to sleep under general anesthesia. And after she woke up, she completely flipped, like a whole behavior changed. She loved coming to the clinic after that, because for her it was like she has a lot of pain in her mouth. She went to sleep, and then when she woke up, she had no more pain in her mouth. She could eat again. She could, enjoy life without having constantly waking up at night when pain. And she also did not feel, like it was very terrifying, because everyone around her was like hyping her up. Yay, you did this, great, good job for you. So that, I will never forget this incident. This was almost like, I think this was now 16, 17 years ago, and I've still not forgotten that child. Similarly, I think we used to do a lot of cleft lip and palate cases, um, where we used to make little obturation devices for them, because they can't drink milk otherwise. The milk goes into the nose. And that was an amazing experience. Here in the US, I've had many, many such experiences. But I think the most challenging experience during pediatric for me was COVID, because we were I was in Connecticut, and Connecticut has two hospitals. One is the Connecticut Children's Hospital, and one is the Yale Children's Hospital. Yale serves South Connecticut, and Children's Hospital serves North and rest of Connecticut. So we were the only two hospitals that were open during COVID-19, and it was just the dental residents who were going to the hospital and managing the whole, like the whole state, basically. So we were 24/7 on call. My husband Hari, he reminds me, because I feel like I have kind of suppressed the memory of it, but he reminds me, like, do you remember when I had to wake you up at 2 a.m. and you just gotten back at 12 from the hospital? I was like, oh yeah, maybe. It was, the roads were empty, everything was empty. The hospitals, we had no idea what we were doing because it was so new. Everything just shut down in one day, and we did not know what is contaminated, what is not contaminated. Like, we'd leave little messages for each other. We were five residents, basically. Can you imagine? There's just five doctors who are managing the whole state, and we would leave like little messages for each other. Remember to put your mask on before you step out of this room. Or we'd leave, like, like, remember to wipe this down because this is contaminated. So, like, little things we had to, and then we'd be on Zoom calls because we were having classes on Zoom while being 24 hours on call. But I had a great team, and that made it really nice. I feel like all my residents, like, we all came together really well only because of that experience. We are inseparable friends now, all five of us.
So absolutely, I think you mentioned about that time, that phase. Yeah, from your side, yes, it was very difficult. It was difficult for the world altogether, I would say.
Yeah.
And but then I think a lot of contribution, lot of selfless contribution during that time by doctors gave more faith to people that they
We
can
don't think
survive.
about it. I feel like during that time, I don't think most of the healthcare providers thought of it as anything selfless. And this is something that I have thought about a lot. Like, people were like, oh, thank you for your hard work and stuff, we are really grateful. But I don't think we see it that way. We were like, this is our job. We have to just do it. There's nobody else. And people, like, I have friends whose family members passed away during that time. I have, like, there were so many sad stories that happened, all because of lack of facilities or lack of knowledge and lack of, I feel like in many places, I feel the government just gave up. They are supposed to take care. We can do the work, but if there are no policies to help us in whatever country, whether it is India, whether it is the US, wherever it was, and I feel like at that time we didn't have all the support we needed, you know so we just did our work. And, like, I was very fortunate that I did not have anyone, who I personally knew, like, near to me, that suffered a lot from COVID. Like, but I know of so many friends who's, like, really good family members. Like, lives changed after
Absolutely.
COVID.
Absolutely. So I like coming back to the, because you're talking about career, world of work. This was one of the last. I mean, we do have a short conversation. So considering this as a last question, the time we have, many of our listeners from India dream of a career like yours,
Hmm.
especially in the US and Canada. So, what are your top three piece of advice for them?
First, figure out visa, because immigration is one of the challenges that you will face. Before you know anything else, figure out if you are able to get these visas that you need, whether it's a student visa, whether it is a work visa, whether it is a visitor visa. Wherever you want to start, make sure you have the visas. Second, get a mentor. Find someone who has been through the same route as you want to go, and get in touch with them. You try to get in touch with 100 people, maybe 10 will reply back. But I know most people are really good, they genuinely want to help. Like, I have been reached out randomly over LinkedIn, over Facebook or WhatsApp, people have like connected with me and I've helped as much as I can. And I feel like most people do want to help. So that's the second thing, get a mentor. Third thing is try to think about the why. Why is this important to you? Why do you want to do this? Because that question is going to define your whole trajectory of life and is going to define every single answer you give to your interview team.
Oh, I think that's a really valuable piece of advice because the why of everything decides your own journey
Yeah.
and gives you that purpose as well, the motivation as well. And
Yeah.
every moment of that journey, also, you can ask why to yourself: Why am I doing this? What am I doing here? And
Yeah.
kind of
And it
giving a
will help
motivation.
you get through the tough parts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm sure many listeners who would like to touch base with you, and definitely they'll look for you in LinkedIn after
Yeah.
you mentioned, because as I said, because it's a very aspirational thing, to go abroad, to go US, practice internationally. And with this, I think I would like to thank you for your time. And I would like to say to my audience that Dr. Amrita has seen it. She has gone through the journey, and she knows each moment how what it takes and what exactly one needs to create a mindset to be in US as well. Having been staying internationally at multiple countries and finally deciding to be there in US and helping the community with her own skills. And especially we know that pediatric dentistry she spoke about. So it's not that easy. It's very tough, and but definitely something when you know your purpose, it is no more about easy or tough. It's enjoying that process and enjoying being there, and that's what she said in her journey. So thank you, Dr. Amrita, for your rich and deeply insightful conversation.
Thank you, Abhilash, for having
Your
me. It was
journey
a real
actually
pleasure.
proves that with resilience, intent, and a heart to serve, one can not only succeed professionally but also contribute meaningfully to communities. And especially advice for my audience or students who want to or who are aspiring to having a career, especially in US in medical sector, they would find your session today very very helpful to design that. And I mean, I know you were saying something. I stopped you. You would like to
No,
continue?
you're okay. I was just saying thank you. And yeah, please reach out. I'll try to help as much as I can. Yeah, reach out through LinkedIn. Abhilash is going to probably put it up.
Yeah,
And
I will do that in the description definitely. So with that, thank you for being at the Career Talkies with Abhilash. I hope you enjoyed the conversation, and definitely we want to be the guide of our the world of the work or the emerging world of work, what's happening across the globe, multiple careers. So thank you everyone for watching, and I hope you learned today something new about a new career and a way to practice it in abroad in US. With that, uh, I look forward for the next episode, and stay purposeful, stay involved, and stay awake till the time your journey is not started. All the best. Thank you.
thank you.